Welcome to I Am Here. This is Hi, I'm Gabi.
Gabi, you remember who you are?
Yeah, I think so.
Welcome to I Am Here with, we think it's Gabi, and Amarilis. We are cousins, we share stories, and we're creating a space with the hope of being able to just explore, share, connect with each other. And we invite you to connect with us, to email us, to subscribe and comment, and let us know feedback from previous shows and episodes, or if you have questions or topics that you want us to cover, hit us up on social media.
On Instagram, we are IAmHerePod, and same with Gmail, IAmHerePod@gmail.com. Just hit us up and let us know what you think and share your stories with us. We'd love to hear.
Yes, it would be so fun to connect.
Yes.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see our faces. I Am Here Podcast. We did get feedback from you guys from one of our previous episodes on our Sex Pancakes and the Talk. We did get some feedback and actually some questions and suggestions on the flip side of the talk, of the people who had to give us the talk. So we listened, and here we are doing the second part. Dun, 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 dun. So today we are joined with guests. We have Ana Maria, who is my older sister. We also have who is my younger brother, also Gabi's cousins, because we're cousins, right?
Yes.
So they were here with us in our previous episode. We invited Luigi back, but he wasn't available. And we also invited Gabi's father, who also did not want to participate, and we wanted to respect his privacy.
Yeah.
Maybe another time he'll be able to join us.
It's okay, because he was, for the most part, either standing by or doing the dishes when we were getting our talk, so I'm pretty sure we're good.
He has a different perspective, so
Yeah.
maybe he'll warm up to other idea, but we wanted to respect his wishes. And we are also joined by the creator of the Sex Pancakes, my mama.
My mama.
Mommy, woo! So excited. Mommy, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. For real. Do appreciate it. Yeah. So again, before we get into it, putting a disclaimer, this is the talk part 2. It is from the perspective of a parent, and what it takes to prepare for that, and what it's like to just experience having to give children the talk. So parents who are listening to this, or adults who are listening to this, whether it's on our podcast platforms or on YouTube, please take a moment to listen and to observe it first before you decide to share it or view it in front of children. We want you to be able to make the choice for yourself if this is something that you want to talk with your kids about and share with them, or if it's something that you just want to enjoy for yourself. So we want to put that disclaimer before we get into it, just to make sure that if there are sensitive ears around, that you're able to make your judgment calls for it. Okay?
We come from storks. Yeah.
That is so funny, because I remember Mommy telling us specifically, the storks, and these storks, why do people come up with that silly story?
Oh my gosh. I was never told about the stork, and then when I was in like 1st grade or 2nd grade, I was just there, and then they would be like, yeah, the storks. I'm like, I don't even know what a stork is, and they'd be like, oh, that's a bird, and I was like, I don't come from birds. Like, don't know where I come from, but I'm pretty sure it's not from birds.
I was thinking about it when you asked me to participate in this, but the only sex talk that I received from my mother was not to let any boy kiss me in the mouth.
What?
That was it.
Wait a minute.
That was it. So I
think you broke that rule, Mommy.
Ooh.
Yeah. But it was really bad because it come to a point that I was thinking that a boy touching a girl was not as bad as a boy kissing a girl.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So like touching, like hand holding, hugs, or you mean?
No, I'm thinking, I'm telling you what I was like thinking when I was seeing the boys and the girls. And so if a girl and a boy were touching themselves, I thought that wasn't as bad as kissing in the mouth. Because that was the only thing that my mom told me.
Oh no.
We have to talk about these things. It's important.
Yeah.
So that was my sex education at home. But then, like when I was at school, about 6th grade, I got the talk that they separate the boys from the girls.
Wait, they did that back in your time too?
Yes, they did.
I wish they did that with us.
I don't know if they talk about the same thing that they talk in your time, but basically, well, they talk about the change that the girls receive and the preparation that you have to take.
So like menstruation period, like how to do
period, and that was it.
How to do all. That's how it was for me actually too. That's exactly the same talk that we got in 5th grade.
I never got a talk in 5th grade. They never. Yeah, I think it was Catholic school. That's why.
I was in Catholic school.
Then what the heck? I don't know.
You went to a different Catholic school.
Also didn't.
Maybe I just don't remember.
You blocked it out.
Blocked it out of your mind.
Well, I'm the one that usually doesn't remember things.
Wonder where I get
It's
it.
so crazy. That's so funny because like I think of, you know, okay, one thing, you were born in New York, but you were raised in Puerto Rico, which is a different culture than the one that we grew up in, even though there's some similarities, but like it's a different generation and it's a different culture in a lot of aspects. So that you actually went to school and they also did the whole splitting up and that's where you learn of hygiene. It's just funny to me. But Anna and I were actually talking about that because we were talking about just like the physical changes in a human in a girl's body, because I know what also he being the boy, it was different. But you had 3 you had 3 girls at first. It was very different. It was a very different experience for mom, because it's almost like my thought was, Mommy, you could talk to girls because you knew what was going on in the female's body. You went through it. But also I remember Mama being very part of that hygiene for us too.
But I never talked with her. Like we only, I guess I don't remember, but I guess I talk about going to the store and buying supplies, but never talk. I don't remember any other information besides the one that they gave me at school, which at the time I still remember that for a lot of years, I always wonder, what did they talk to the boys?
And also can't tell us because he doesn't remember the talk.
But from the last episode, Luigi
remembered the talk.
Okay, they talk about this to us, but what did they talk to the boys?
I do remember thinking that.
I still was wondering that. Thankfully, in the first episode, Luigi was able to explain a little bit more. But
and I feel like I remember the boys in my class saying they just hung out. Maybe that's what they were told, but I don't think they had as much going on as the girls did. Because we had videos, we had samples, we came back with little bags.
We did come back.
There was shaving cream in there for our legs. I still use that brand. They
shaving cream, razors, small deodorants. They had pads in there.
And I remember
cream
and brochures.
I remember my talk was given by a male teacher.
How was that for you? Because like back in the day, I think that had to be a lot more awkward.
Yes, it was. Well, it was awkward, but he was a science teacher.
Oh no.
That makes sense.
I had I had a health teacher in high school that when we were talking about, which I don't know because it was already high school, but we were talking about the talk in more extensive detail. But they were talking about like menstruation, and he was so like, oh, I got so angry because he kept saying, oh, like period cramps are like any other like cramp, and it doesn't hurt that much. Girls are exaggerating, and he said that in front of the entire class.
But look at the reaction that Oso's having to what you're saying. Like he's lived through cramps. Like
No, I'm just saying because I've seen stories where a girl's gone to the hospital because like their appendix burst, and they're like, "How come you didn't come to the hospital?" And she says, "Oh, I've had cramps worse than this, so I figured it was normal."
Yeah.
I'm saying you're a teacher. You can't be saying that when you have kids in the classroom that you're molding their minds. You're teaching them to be as dumb as you, which
Yeah, and it didn't help that like a good like half of the class of girls did not really get that. I don't know if it was because they were trying to be like tough or something, or if it was because they just didn't experience the same cramps that some of us experienced. But they were like, yeah, nah, it's not that bad. And then like all the guys are like, oh yeah, so the girls were exaggerating. And I was like, no way.
Mommy has stories about cramps.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, I remember going through labor pains and looking at mom and going, this is not as bad as the cramps I've had, and she's been through some of the episodes. Labor wasn't that bad compared. It was about the same level. So.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Yeah, it can get bad depending on the girl. Because I remember with mom, like we would have some really bad cramps, and you would have them very badly. Mm-hmm. And mommy, I remember having conversations like, I've never experienced something to the level that you girls did. Oh, mommy, what was that like? Because even though as a woman, you have your own experiences, and coming from upbringing where people didn't really talk about sex. The biggest sex talk was don't kiss boys in the mouth.
Don't do it.
What was it like to then have to educate 3 girls?
It was, like you said before, it was easy because I have gone through it. I have lived it. And as you said in your prior talk, I always thought that if somebody has a question, they're ready to get an answer.
Mommy, how did you learn that?
I don't know.
Because it's so different than what you're saying you grew up with.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's such a different idea than what you saying you grew up with.
Yes, it is a different, but we go through so many things that we learn so many experiences. We go to school, we get educated, we read, we see a lot of things, and we learn that we need to protect our child. And I remember what Amarilis was saying. My first thing was to call things by their proper name.
Yeah.
Because I just saw recently a program that it was calling like, I have 2 buttons, and I don't know. It was a lot of.
It was Caso Cerrado. Caso Cerrado, right? That you said that you were watching.
Yeah. And what did you say?
That they were calling the vagina buttons.
No.
The breast.
The breast, 2 buttons. And she have a song. She actually have a song, and she said that's how she learned it.
Her body.
The mom learned that the mom learned the song and learned that that's what it was.
Yeah, that's how they teach her. And then I said, well, no, because if there is a problem, and my daughter is gonna tell me that somebody is touching their breast, and she told me they're touching their buttons. Okay, that's nothing.
Yeah. You don't really realize how bad it is.
How important it is.
Because I remember, and I've had experiences like that too in working with kids who've been abused, and it was very similar. Like they would have a lot of stories where they actually were saying, and they were telling teachers or family members that they were being abused, but the adult didn't understand the language. So there's a well-known story in just the counseling world of an example of when a child was telling their teacher that she was sexually abused. What she told the teacher, somebody, touched my cookie, because she called her vagina the cookie. And what her teacher said, well, sometimes it's okay to share,
Oh no.
And it's the confusion of the child is using what they know, and just the meaning is not understood, and it gets very confusing. So thank you, Mommy, for teaching us the right words.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Talk
you.
to your kids like adults.
Because it is, I think a lot of times it's easy for a parent to get caught up in, this could be very embarrassing, this could be very dangerous. If the kids have such big mouths, they're going to be saying this all the time.
Thank you.
But they don't realize how important it is when you need it to have the right word.
Yeah.
Because
it is like, I think it's more embarrassing really for the adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more embarrassing that the people that choose to use other words, like the cookie, they're avoiding to say themselves. Basically, it is like the parents, like we didn't have any sexual education, so they are avoiding themselves.
Yeah.
They are avoiding
They're not comfortable with the word.
Or anything.
How did you get comfortable?
When Ana Maria went to the Manolo and told her, no, my mommy is not going to have her baby through the belly button. She's going to have her baby through her vagina. And he was ashamed. He run into his house and said goodnight.
And he's a grown man.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
he was an old guy.
Yeah.
An older guy than us. So he was from a prior generation.
Yeah. Which is why I think it's good that you taught us with no shame, because that's how it gets passed along. If you teach somebody and you have that shame, you teach them that, oh, mom or dad is embarrassed about what I'm talking about, so it's something embarrassing. And then they grow up and it just keeps happening and happening. Yeah. We're kind of comfortable talking about sex and all this other stuff because you talk to us like it was normal, because it is. And then we didn't grow up with that shame for the most part.
Yeah, because when they are little kids, you're teaching them the stuff, and the little kid has no shame on anything.
I wonder, Mommy, that because of the generation and the big shame that was associated, that you have older people who are advising you and talking to you and giving you tips as a new mom, right? And you have older generation who's so ashamed that they run away when a little 3-year-old says, no, my mom is going to have a baby and it's going to come through her vagina, and they run away in shame. I wonder, did you get any talks or backlash from people because you were teaching us vagina, penis, and talking to us so frankly about it?
Not that I remember. I don't remember. I remember, but I remember all the stuff, but nobody complaining about the way I was talking to my kids. But
you remember them complaining about other stuff,
but not that. But I remember, I don't know if you remember that my mom was concerned about you. Just you were too
affectionate,
huggy.
Too affectionate, and you will hug everybody, even if you just met them. You will sit on their lap, you will hug them, you will kiss them. And I know my mom was very concerned about it, and she will come and get you, and she gave you a speech. I don't know if you remember about it.
I don't remember the speeches, but I can tell you that was taken away from me. It was taught out of me. I became from very clingy and affectionate and be like, woo, anybody is my friend, to I'm watching and scared of everybody,
I think that was a common theme that we heard a lot, even growing up as teenagers, when they say, tienes que tener malicia. You need to know that you cannot trust everybody and you're too innocent, and you need to know that there are bad people, and you need to be able to radar that. I don't know how to translate it, but it was something that was important, and it was taught to
You
protect
have to have
us.
malice. That's what it's malice.
Yeah.
But it was like that for me too, because my mom and my husband both were very suspicious of everybody. They will catch it. If there was something, they will catch it on the air. It will pass by me. It will go whoops.
Right over your head.
Right over my head. And for me, everybody was good. Everything was okay. Nobody was done anything wrong. After people left or something, they will explain to me, this is what happened. And I said, oh, I didn't notice. So
You say that a lot. You learn a lot about like that malice, and to kind of be observant and watch people from Papi. You say that a lot. You learn a lot of that from Papi, and I think it's because you guys had very different experiences growing up. So he saw a lot of different things that I guess you didn't, and you learned because he was teaching you some of these things.
yes. And my mom will only tell me, oh, there's something wrong with this, but she won't tell me what. But your father we will talk, and he will say, this is what they're talking. This is when they say this is what they're meaning. So he will explain it like
The innocence right off.
Well, I think
There's
it's
no
different.
curtain. Here it is, clear.
I
Clear.
think it's different because you were his partner.
Yeah.
yeah. So
And you're the mom of his children.
yeah.
And I wonder how that worked for you guys as a couple, because as we were talking about it, Papi was not somebody who was very present in educating about sex to us. He didn't talk to us directly.
You know, he wouldn't talk, he will watch. He was
aware of what was happening.
And that's what I wonder on your perspective, because as children, we didn't know what was going on. We just got your words and your education. But what you're saying is he was very present in teaching you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was like I said, I believe that everybody was good, and everybody, every person acts or as you see them, good.
So for you, everybody was good until they prove otherwise.
There was no second intentions. I didn't see them, but he will catch them on there. Then he will explain me.
And then how did it work when, because he's explaining it to you behind the scenes, we don't see that conversation. We don't know that that is something that he kept between you guys as a married couple. And then when you start talking to us as your children about sex and what it means and difference, because I remember like even at family dances, family parties, I remember being very young, and like you said, I was going with, like I just trusted everybody because it was made safe for me. I felt safe in that. And again, in my innocence, I didn't know. So I'm dancing, and I remember there was one party where one of Papi's friends was dancing with me, and he asked me to dance, and I was a little girl, and we were all dancing, and that's fine. And I remember we were dancing, and I think you noticed that I was uncomfortable. And you may not remember, but I think you noticed that I was uncomfortable. And then after I came back to sit down, I remember you talking to me and saying, you don't have to say yes if you don't want to dance. And for me, that was so big because I thought with he's an adult, and I have to listen to what adults say. So if he's inviting me to dance, I almost felt obligated. But I remember you having just small little talks like that, and nothing shameful, but of just like, you can say no to adults. You don't have to do that. So I wonder, like, how much of that was you, and how much of that was things that you learned, and what Papi kind of asked you to share with us?
I know your daddy never asked me to share anything with you. I'm talking like more like he will open my eyes to the world.
Do you think that's because?
So I learned about it from him.
Do you think? And I think your family backgrounds were so different too, and just what he saw growing up and what you saw growing up, and maybe how he was taught. I don't know. We don't know if he had any talks or anything. Pero
I don't know if he had any talk, but he had a lot more experience than I did when we started going out. So he has seen the world in a lot deeper ways than I have. So,
which was good for us because he taught you and you taught us.
yeah, he had the experience, but he never told me to tell you this or tell you that, and unless it was about boyfriends.
So what was that talk like? Because Gabi's like, wait a minute.
When he was pretending to be,
and this is where I hide.
For example, Ana Maria's boyfriend's, when he was pretending to be Ana Maria's boyfriend friend, and then coming inside the house, I don't like this guy. Tell him, Ana Maria, I don't want him.
But he would never tell Ana that. He would tell you, I don't like this guy. You better tell her to get rid of him.
And he was outside pretending to be his friend.
Papi believed in keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
But you know what's funny? But you know what's funny? Because I even remember also being little, and also one of your boyfriends came to visit you, and even also came with a wooden bat and started hitting him and telling him to get out of the
he was a little tiny wooden bat, and he beat the crap out of him and said, get out.
That bat, just in case.
I have the mental one.
Mommy, what was, okay, I asked though, because like boyfriends was a big issue. And that's something we talked about the last episode. Like we were okay talking about sex, we were open about that. But when it came to boyfriends and relationships or even crushes, and like, do you like that guy? Are you ready to marry him? Kind of. What was that perspective? Because again, like Ana Maria said, you and Papi had different upbringings, and you had different experiences. And I think also being a man and a woman in that generation, that culture, is different, period. So when it came to like boyfriends and relationships, I want like what it was your guys' talk about that and your viewpoints. And
it wasn't like much of a talk unless there was some, okay, I don't want this guy here. He is doing this, that, and the other. But there wasn't much of a talk on there. It was.
But I wonder, because like I question it now as an adult. I'm like, wait a minute. And I remember you and I had this conversation. So like, wait a minute. When it came to like boyfriends, it was just like, are you ready to get married? Like, is this what you, are you ready to get married? If you're going to date somebody who, when you're ready to be married. But then I remember, I'm like, but mom, and I remember as an adult, I was like, but wait, mom, you had a boyfriend when you were 15. Were you ready to be married at 15?
No. But nobody asked me that question. But basically, I think that was my point of view. Like, and it might have been something that I pick up on at church or at Mother Angelica or something like that. But it was basic, and I think that you guys have talked about it. But I think that the one that suffered more on that concept was also.
His eyes got big. He knew it was coming.
I was like, which one of us?
Well, okay, what makes you say that?
More about that was also because basically, yeah, you have a boyfriend to know them and get prepared, but basically, you don't want to have a boyfriend that you would have married, even if it's 4 years or 3 years, but you don't want, if it's a guy that you know that's no good,
Why spend time
you're
with?
gonna be boyfriend or girlfriend with that? So
That did bring me another memory before when we were talking about 15, because I definitely remember, like, 15 was a big deal. Not only because of the quinceañera, but because I wasn't allowed to paint my nails until I was 15. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until I was 15. And
Do your eyebrows?
And do my eyebrows, shave
was a
my
big
legs. Yes, oh my gosh, walking around with the hairy legs.
and that
So that was a big deal. But I remember you also saying 15 is when you can start dating. And that was weird to me. And I remember you saying, yo tuve un novio when I was 15. And I was like, yeah. Like, it was so weird because it was mixed signals. I don't know.
That never happened to me. Mommy never. I think again, you were the oldest. I'm like, mommy never gave me an age.
And
remember,
I don't know.
she was the first one.
It was weird because, you know, it was no, like, and I don't think I ever was heard like, no, boys are bad, but I still felt like that was the message. And then I don't think I had a boyfriend till I was almost 18. Because I was like,
well, you did better than me. Good job. But I wonder what you say. Why would you say also struggled with that message more than us?
Because he how do I say this?
I'm not ready.
You're not ready.
I don't know what's coming, but I'm not ready.
Because he liked some girls, and I say, okay, you can have friends, and you can have a like, okay,
una amiguita.
Amiguita, yeah. Amiguita. But when he would started like, okay, I'm gonna go out with this girl and say, okay, but he went too far. He will give himself completely, and he say, okay, you wanna have this girl as your girlfriend? Are you ready to marry her? Like, if no, and but maybe I wasn't clear. I wasn't saying today.
Because I
wasn't meaning today.
That's what we were thinking. Because you were like, we're talking to you about crushes when we're 12 or 9, and you're like, are you ready to marry them? I'm like,
yeah.
What the heck?
Last time I heard that, I was 9 years old.
I don't want to be a child bride.
No, I'm not ready to get married. I can't even spell it right yet.
I remember you got it a lot.
Yeah, because wait, like, I wonder about that, because he said the first time he heard, are you ready to get married? He was 9 years old when he had a first crush. So as a mom, what's going in your head?
I was so embarrassed.
I don't know what was going on in my head, but I know that basically I was trying to teach you guys
the groundwork.
Yeah, the groundwork. It's just like, you don't go out with anybody. Everybody, the first one that asks you, because I haven't been asked, I haven't had a boyfriend, and this is not the first one that asks.
That face.
Wait for mommy to finish. We're thinking. I think you and I have the both face like.
Because I'm just like, why can't you just say, don't date anybody who asks you? Or
I would have liked that advice. That would have been good.
True, like, know your worth. Because to me, I'm 9, and I don't understand that that's what you mean when you say.
You guys, let me just say that this information is gold, because I have a 9-year-old, and I'm already knowing, okay, I have to change the way I'm communicating, because it does come out of my mouth. I don't want him to have a girlfriend, and he
writes little journal entries about the crushes he has.
He does, and I don't like it. And he shouldn't have a girlfriend when he's in kindergarten and when he's in first grade.
Why
and when
not?
He's in sixth. Because, and I've had to have a conversation with him. Okay, buddy, like, you're not gonna get married, but the way I put it was, but when you start dating and when you start having a girlfriend and when you start looking for relationship, you want to learn the kind of person that you like and what you don't like, so that when you start looking for someone to marry, then you know what you're looking for. You don't need to be doing that right now. But maybe I should change it.
That last part, you were good until that last section. You know, all of that was super good, except for, you don't need to do that right now.
He doesn't need a girlfriend.
But your thought of what a girlfriend and a definition of a girlfriend is very different than what a 9-year-old is.
I know. It's just
like we're thinking
the
of it as,
generation things.
and we're thinking about it as adults, and I think that's where the gap is. That how do we learn who we are? How do we learn what we like? How do we learn to socialize and understand who we are without having dating? Because it's like either you're single or you're married. But in order to have a successful marriage, there are steps in being able to meet people so you can learn about yourself and learn about what works well and what doesn't. And that's something that was such a big gap. And it's just like,
It was.
dating is like you're taking a step towards marriage. It becomes a commitment that we're not ready for. But as children or teenagers, we have this desire to meet people and to have fun, like to just go out to the movies, like, and have that shared time. And then it becomes so confusing that it's continues to affect us into adulthood.
Es que está muy liberal. Tú eres demasiado liberal.
Just because you're teaching them to be scared, and then now we're always scared.
It is. It's because that voice is still there.
Yeah, and I remember on top of saying, "Are you ready? You're not ready. Are you ready to marry that girl?" I remember for him every time he went out the door, remember that girl is a daughter, a sister to somebody else, and remember, you have to treat her as you want anybody to treat your 3 sisters.
How did that advice sit with you also? How did that work with you?
I understood the sentiment, and I'm grateful because you have taught me, how to be a gentleman and treat women with respect. But at the same time, I'm like I feel guilty every time I leave the house. So it's just like a conflict, because I will admit that I have learned, like, you hold the doors open, you respect like women's space and all this other stuff that I feel like without you and grandma and my 3 sisters, I might not have learned.
Walking on the right side of the sidewalk.
Yes, you have to keep the woman away from the street. I just don't know the other way that like I would have wanted it to go, because at the same time, it's like, remember that woman's a person. When you walk out the door, I sort of just feel like, do you think I don't know that yet? Because like when it gets repeated, I'm just like, am I doing something wrong right now or no? So it's just like, I don't know, balance, I guess.
No, because basically I was, not now because you're an adult, but I still would say it. But I was more thinking into like respect them as you will want any boy to respect your sisters.
Yes.
I wonder, like, part of that, because I get the intention of wanting to make sure that he is respecting people, but I think there's an undertone of like, just in case you forgot, like almost like it goes into what we had talked about last episode too, of the last time we had this talk of like, women are seen as pure and men are seen as unpure naturally, and it's almost we have to guard and protect the men because they cannot control themselves.
No, not really. I always thought that since he's the youngest, I always saw him as a little boy. I still do.
I noticed.
You're the baby.
I was seeing like he had to like, it was basically how do I say this? It was a sexual prevention underneath that message. But I never lay it out to him. I just told him to treat the girl as he want any guy to treat his sisters. It was a lot easier than saying, hey, no la toque aquí, no la toque aquí.
There you go.
But I wonder, even with that, it's the same assumption that men are going to be impulsive, even if you raise them with the same morals and values that you raise your girls.
I don't know. I didn't see them different because I gave them both. I gave the four of them the same speech. The only thing
Did you get to talk of don't touch a boy here and there?
No, she didn't tell.
or treat that man with respect?
No, because
it
they
was
didn't want
protect
them.
yourself.
I feel like I got
That's the different message. Protect yourself, and also the boy gets the message of make sure you don't go touching. And for us, it's more of like don't let them touch you.
Well, it's the same message from my side.
But the way you package a message matters. If you hand someone a present and it's a grocery bag, and you hand someone else a present and it's wrapped up nicely, that's different. If it's the same present on the inside.
Well, no, because the message to me as a woman becomes like, don't let him touch you. And it wasn't in that exact words, but it's like protect yourself. But the message undertone is don't let him touch you becomes like the message I understood was I'm vulnerable and I always have to have this guard because I'm not really safe with people.
I don't know. I thought that like and this is I cannot translate it. Es que lo que a mí me enseñaron es que el hombre va hasta donde la mujer quiere.
Exactly. The message is that the man will go only as far as a woman would let him. Yeah. That's what you learned. And that's exactly what we learned. Mm-hmm. And again, like what Gabi and we were talking about last time of it becomes almost like the woman's responsibility and burden to make sure that we are staying pure and the man is being pure. There's no like responsibility on the man, but it's just almost like the woman has the control of how far the man goes. And if he goes any farther, then it becomes my fault.
Yeah, I never got don't touch the guy's butt.
Yeah, don't do that.
Also said it. Also said, don't touch.
You saw that in your household every time where it's not slapping everybody's butt.
We did.
Yes. And that's so confusing.
It was a butt touching household.
It's so confusing because at home we're like smack. Like we're talking, jokes. And then when you step outside the house, don't do that. And it's so confusing. It's just like now I have to be a different person. And I think about it because I have not been married, but I've had conversations with people outside of the family, just other who are like also have a spiritual background in one way or another, and it becomes like there's this part of you as a whole person, a sexual and not just like sex, but like a sensual part of you and a playful part of you that we're not allowed to express until you're married. And then it becomes an identity crisis when you're in a very committed relationship and you can't tap into that part of you because it's like it's been shut down and like almost like guarded and protected, and you don't express that part of you don't show that part of you. But then when you're married, all of a sudden you have to do it. It's great. Woohoo. And it's just like, how do you transform like that?
I didn't have a problem.
It is really weird to hear you, even though I did heard the prior videos. It's really weird to hear you say that. You were like the sensation. I can't
The
remember
life of the
La
party.
sensación del baile. Ey.
I was gonna remember artist name, but I can't. You were like dancing like one of the
Iri Chacón.
person dance, and yeah, and a lot of people were criticizing you and criticizing me. Why do you let her dance like that? Because she's having fun. She's with the family. We're in she's not doing
Church.
bad. Yes. She's not doing anything bad. If you're thinking something bad, it's on you.
That's you.
And I would tell them that, even at church.
And you know what's crazy, Mom? Yeah. High five. Thank you, Mom. What's crazy about that is that I did not know that those conversations were happening. Because again, I was a teenager, I was a kid, I was in church, I was in family, having fun dancing, and I just so happened to be dancing in a way that other people would see sensually, but it really was not. I was not trying to be provocative in any way. Mommy's disagreeing. Look at that face.
No, I just thought if you could ask your grandmother,
Yeah.
your parental grandmother,
Yeah, my paternal.
she
And
was completely, because she was one of the persons that was in disagreement with me completely all the time. I said, well, she's in family or she's at church. She's not doing anything wrong. Why am gonna shame her?
because
Be happy.
Mommy, thank you so much for not shaming me for dancing, because I love dancing so much. It's so important to me. And it's such a big part. And it's funny because you say, it's funny for you to hear me talk about that part, because actually in dance was the only part where I can feel that very feminine part of me. Like outside of dance, and it's still like becomes a block of like when I go to dances, I'm dancing and people want to dance with me, and I do like people want to share that space with me. But once I step outside of the dance floor, it's a mask and it's a protection and it's a guard. Like, don't talk to me, don't get close to me, because you're only gonna, like you're only gonna want one thing kind of thing. And it becomes such an extreme difference. And dance was the only part where I could feel very feminine
I'm free.
because I guess as a child, you guarded me in that, because I did not hear any of those things until you told me that as an adult. And I did not realize like how helpful, like all the behind the scenes that as a mom you had to do in order to protect our identity and who we are as a person. So I really, really appreciate that, because it's such an important part of my life, of who I am. Even though like there's different parts of it that I still hold on to, but I think about just Gabi, you and I have talks about dance and that message of dancing a certain way was too sensual, and just because like you've had experiences where you felt shamed for dancing too.
I don't even know how to even express a lot of the things that I want to say. So like I'm just sitting here, I'm listening, and I'm really like taking it in, and like part of me is sad, and I'm like, I wish I had that. But part of me is very happy, because then not only can I learn from this experience and everything that you guys grew up with that I didn't, and then I can bring that to myself now, but also I can bring that to my future family that at least I hope to one day have, because, or even bring that to my friends that have been like raised the same way I have, where things seem very, like you said, like seen as sexual rather than sensual, and not even sensually, if it's just being a woman or just being a person or just being happy.
But I wonder, as you're hearing this and seeing this, because this is something so different from your experience, You mentioned like, okay, there's part of you that would wish to have it, and you're taking it in as an adult now. But I wonder things that you kind of are taking away or wish were shared with you.
Well, for starters, I wish I could have danced. I actually never learned to properly dance because of it. And it's interesting because my mom actually was a great dancer.
She's the best dancer in the family.
Yeah, she was the best dancer. And like she
taught us how to be flirty with it.
And she wanted to teach me, but because I was taught by many different parts of the family, I didn't let myself be taught by her by a lot of things, because like you have to remember, growing up, I actually didn't spend much time with my mom, like at all. I didn't spend time with my mom until she was sick, and she would always try to teach me how to dance, but I had other voices in my head saying that that's bad, that is not okay. That it gets to the part where even now in adulthood, like we go to the club, you see me dancing like this, and it's not because I don't know how to move my hip. I'm afraid that if I don't milk the cow, or if I don't freaking do the robot, like that some man is gonna come by. And then I had like the experience on the flip side where because if you constantly hear this is how men are, this is what you need to do, you need to protect yourself, otherwise like men are predatory, X, Y, and Z. Now, like as an adult, I have to acknowledge that it's not my fault, because constantly there has been instances like, and you guys know, you even also knows, like it happens to guys too. I know like it happens a lot more to girls, but like you're dancing.
I think we talk about it more than guys. I think it happens just as often to boys too.
Yeah. Like you're just dancing and then some guy comes up behind you, or you're walking at the club and some guy puts his hand like way too low, or like a guy like does something or says something or is too close, and it just gets really scary because I was taught that. So even like I remember one time I did go to a club with my friends, and then I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna move my hips and I'm gonna be fun and then whatever.
Woo!
I was good and I felt so happy. But then I had the experience of being like some creep come up to me, and then immediately I shut down entirely. And then I was like, okay, this is bad. And then I felt awful. I felt guilty. I went home and I felt terrible. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to let that stop me. But it takes forever to unlearn that. So like that's only one thing, but like there's so much that goes into it that I'm so happy you guys had to dance and do those things, because I would have loved to do that as a kid, because my mom wanted me so badly to dance salsa and merengue, and then she was always like, "¿Por qué estás tan tesa? Why are you so stiff? Why are you so stiff?" And I would like not explain it to her because I felt uncomfortable explaining to her I don't want to be looked at in a predatory way. I don't want people to see me as something like sexual. I don't want people to see me as an object. So I don't know. That's one thing. I wish I could have learned how to dance.
Still can.
But I still can. But something too that is actually the opposite that I didn't say earlier. You guys said that you didn't feel comfortable talking about crushes and talking about boyfriends and stuff. But I've always been so open when it comes to that, but I think it's so weird because I was taught the opposite, like to be shamed and everything. But it could be because I don't have much to say because everything was so shamed, if that makes any sense. Or if I don't know what it is, but I just don't feel as uncomfortable talking about myself in that context. But
I wonder about it. I wonder this about what you're saying. Did you get the message? Because I'm thinking of the family. Did you get the message? Are you gonna get married? You're dating? Are you gonna get married to that guy?
Not okay. So it's weird because sometimes I would and sometimes I wouldn't. I remember at one distinct time that I forgot to clean the dishes, or I didn't clean them right, and then my mom was like, "Oh, and that guy, you think that he's going to be okay with you not doing the dishes and like whatever when you're married?" And I was like, "What?" married.
I think that's the difference. I think that was the difference where, correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know, but I think the difference with us, it was like, you have a crush on somebody. Are you ready for that commitment? Are you ready for, like, is that what you're ready for? Whereas some of the messaging and just observing, because I never had these direct conversations with that some of the family members in that, but your mom and other parts of the family, it's almost like, yeah, like it became more romanticized. Like if you had a crush, I'm like, oh man, and you would get married and it would be great, and like it became more exciting. Like you had a little crush and you're like, maybe when you're older you're gonna get married.
I can hear her voice because she was in the room hiding in the bathroom when I told grandma that I was engaged, and she came out just like that in that same voice. Oh my god.
It became like some part of the families, it was more exciting. Like marriage was like, yeah, you have a crush, maybe one, and it became like almost like a Disney, like a Disney movie.
Disney, yeah. I blame Disney for that too.
Yeah.
So like it made, because it was a celebration and almost like, oh yay, this is gonna be great, you know, and you're more open about the romance part of it than I think we are. Because I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for marriage. I better stop right now.
Yeah, that could be. I have a question. Okay, so also, you are in a family of women. So what do you think that the aspect of feeling that men are predatory was more enforced? Did you feel like you had to be more protective in that aspect?
What you mean? I feel like for sure I saw it more than if I weren't to be raised in a house full of women, including like going to my grandma's house and stuff like that.
Because you're the only grandson on mom's side.
Yeah. So I feel like I was informed in a certain way where it's very clear for me to see it now as an adult. Like yeah, I can say guys are creepy. I could say that without hesitating because I've witnessed it about like all my life about people that I care about. I'm just like, yo, guys are weird. Why are you acting like that? This is a person.
And you became overprotective of us even as we were adult sisters.
Yeah. I know I could be a little much. But it's just like, I haven't really thought about it. Maybe that has been like drilled into my brain because I do see that where I get the thing that like that malicia, the malice, where I'm just looking around, I'm like, who's this guy? Why he walking so close? What are you doing? And I feel like that's just since I grew up with all the women and since I've grown up seeing creepy dudes acting creepy and hearing stories even, I'm just like, I grew up, I'm like, there's something in here that it's like, it's not easy to get out about being overprotective or being like, guys are weird or just having an eye out.
And I think we all see that, like, the guys are creepy. That's what we were taught. Guys are creepy, guys are creepy, guys are creepy. But I think when you were talking about it, Gabriela, too, just like when you're in the club or when you're dancing or you're interacting or anything like that, and with also, too, as a man, it becomes almost like that's the message that is repeated over and over, and you see all guys as creepy. Where there's some creepy guys and there's some guys who really just want to hang out and get to know you and really just dance because they like dancing and they don't want anything to do with you. But it becomes like one person acts creepy and they're all disgusting and I must shut it down. And as a man, also it's just like one creepy guy, oh, they're all disgusting. Do not look at my sisters. Do not look at my cousin. Don't go there, kind of thing. And it's almost like there's no balance.
I've gotten better at that. I've gotten better at looking at the balance. I still keep an eye out, but I'm just like, yeah, do your thing. Go dance, go have fun. But I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's just like I can differentiate these situations a little bit better than when I was younger, if that makes sense. I was, the only guy, and I was raised like how to like you said, treat women, and that, you know, like, that's a person. Just because they're a woman doesn't mean they're different. Be nice. And then, like, you see, like, other adults, even some who aren't related to me, just like, hey, you're a boy, behave yourself. I'm like, where is this coming from?
It's almost like an assumption that you're not going to.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Watching you.
But here's the thing too. One question I did have also, because we're talking about being taught that men are impulsive and can't, you must protect yourself from men, and that as boys, as mommy said, it's just like the message is we have to protect you, we have to stop you, kind of thing, like behave yourself kind of thing. I wonder, because when Gabriela was talking about dancing and talking about how creepy guys approach her, I was thinking, well, creepy girls approach men too.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
And because the message is that men want sex all the time and they're always gonna want it, I've also seen where females or girls are the ones who are taking advantage of men because they have the thought, oh, men want it all the time, so they just throw themselves on men.
And that's not okay.
And just like, maybe you don't want somebody grinding on you and touching you and dancing that close to you. So I think about it too of as a man being told, oh, we need to control yourself and you better behave yourself and you want sex all the time. Not realizing that there's some girls who also treat men in a disrespectful way.
That was something that I was gonna say earlier, where it's so that I feel like I got both sides of the talk, the masculine and the feminine side, like from the, typical Hispanic household, where when I was younger, I was taught, like you said, treat women right, and that, like, you're responsible for this and that, y lo otro. And then I feel like when I got older and when I was like going to college, I was going to Florida, that's when I got the more side of the talk that you guys got growing up, where it's like, you need to watch out because women are going to do this and that and the other.
That was from me, wasn't it?
It wasn't just you, because I got it from you. I got it from, like, dad's side of the family, and everybody was just like, protect yourself, watch out, girls are crazy out here.
I really think about this a lot, but it just came now. The question I had earlier, and it does pertain to everything you're saying right now, it's why don't us women want to protect the men as much as the men want to protect the women? Because, listen, I'm in the club with also, because we for those of you who don't know, like, we go to the same college and we hang out a lot.
And you're same age.
And, like, we go to the club together, and I see creepy girls. Yeah, we're the same age. I see creepy girls, like, coming up to Oso, but then I don't know what to do because, like you said, it's so ingrained that guys want sex that I'm like, well, because he always pushes me away. Like, if there's when I say creepy guy, like, there's some obviously, like, guys that are trying to, like, yeah. So, like, so also is like, what he does is, if a guy, because I clearly do not, I want to, also, like, it warns me. He's like, he looks at me and then he, like, looks with his eyes and he's like, hey.
He gives you a signal.
He gives me a signal and I'm like, okay, gotcha. Like, there's a, creep. And then I, like, especially, like, people are intoxicated in the club, so you never know what, like, their intentions might be impaired. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna skedaddle this way, go, like, near the wall. But then there's creepy girls that are, like, near also that I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, okay, does also want this? Maybe also wants this. So do I do I give him a signal and, like, be like, hey, like, fresquecita, yeah, like, there's a person over here. And then, like, and if he looks at me and says, like, yeah, I want it good, I'm like, okay, I'll move out of the way. Or, like, oh, hell no. And I'm like, okay, let me put you again, like, wall. Because I don't know. Because
face the wall.
Exactly. Then there's been situations, too, where girls grab guys' butts on the dance floor And then
Also violated. He's offended over there. He's like,
No,
yes,
'cause
they
What?
do.
all the time. All the time.
that's
I'm
not
minding my own business. Who says excuse me by patting your butt? Excuse me.
Your mom.
Girl, you know.
Oh my gosh. You're looking at your mom and I was like, oh, why is he looking at Titi? Like, did she? I don't think she does.
No, because I want her to be angry with me. That's why.
because the thing is, like, they go and then like people laugh in the moment and I don't laugh because I'm like it happened to my brother, it happened to Luigi, and I'm like, that wasn't okay. And then people with us are like laughing and whatever, especially like the girls are laughing like haha. And I'm like, if that happened to me, I mean it's happened to me, but like I wouldn't want that to be, I wouldn't want to be Luigi right now. So then afterwards, like Luigi's like, nah, I didn't like that, haha. And I'm like, why are you laughing about it? It's not.
And it's almost a shame to say that as a man because you're not really taught. Well, what if I don't want it? It's almost like we laugh about it to cover up the embarrassment.
So it's somewhat like what Oso was saying, where he got it when he was older and it was beneficial. But it's beneficial to give guys the talk that we had
To
too.
protect yourself that
Yeah.
these girls be trifling out here and they be doing some stuff.
There shouldn't be just one talk for guys and one talk
Men
for
are creepy, girls are creepy.
No.
But also that there's people who are kind and also want to just talk to you, and it's okay to have conversations with them and trust that you have enough morality and good judgment to say no to the ones you don't want to talk to and yes to the ones that you do. Because we only get the creepy, you're creepy, boys and girls, everybody's creepy. Then I think that's for me, at least personally, it becomes almost like a wall and I don't trust anybody. And then that I think affected how I develop relationships, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Let them in, it's okay.
But they told me it wasn't okay.
I don't know how to trust people. So it's something that you have to sort of learn over time as an adult. It's just like, not everyone's, a criminal.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we have this talk. And like, I think it has a lot to do with, like we said before in the previous episodes, undoing the shame. Because the more we have these conversations about what we got as the talk, the more we learn from those talks to how to view the world a little differently. Like that perspective is
As
so
a whole. Because we've talked a lot about just how, mommy, your ability to talk to us as girls, but like you said, also was your youngest. You had no experience with raising boys, and by the time also was like ready for some more of those talks, you didn't have Papi's support because he had already passed away. I want to know about how that was for you in raising your first boy pretty much by yourself and having to prepare him for sex talk.
Okay, it was really hard, but I did have the help of my second daughter.
That'd be me, bro.
Which she went to the library and she brought me about 6 books because I told her I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know what I'm going to tell him.
It did separate you guys.
I remember having that conversation with you, mommy, and you were like, I don't even know what changes the man goes through when he's going through puberty. Like, I don't know about what happens with the male body. One, now that you're saying it, it's just like, nobody talked to you about sex until like you pretty much had to learn through it with your husband.
After we talked, I don't remember what I said, and I don't know if he have any memories or any stories about it, but but after we talk, I know there was one of the family members that did said when he's around, I will talk with him, and then any question, I'll bring him in confidence and see if there's any questions. But I don't think that in those questions ever come true.
I think I know who you're talking about because I remember being in the car with this person and I would get talks about girls and stuff, but I feel like at that point I knew most of the things that they were telling me, so it was kind of like just uncomfortable. But I also remember like with the girls when I had a question, I would go ask you. Like I remember when like I first started getting hair downstairs, I'm like, hey, this is weird. I'm scared. Mom, there's hair on my penis. I don't know what to do about that. And she's like, that's normal. It's fine. You're okay. Don't worry about it.
You never knew that that was gonna be something that happened to you. You didn't. Nobody talked to you about pubic hair.
No, I think I like went through that like a little earlier than most, but I was just so confused. So yeah, I went and talked to mom and I was freaking out a little bit. But yeah, like I said, sprinkled here and there, just a little bit, piece by piece, and then
And they
And
were.
then he doesn't remember the school talk either, so
I legitimately don't. I remember reading science books, and it was very just
But
like
Gabriela doesn't remember it, having it either. So I wonder if by like they just stopped it.
I don't think we had health class per se. I remember
I did
science
not.
class where you learn about genitals and
I
reproductive.
did not. I did not at all until either 6th or 7th grade. But in 5th grade, 4th grade, we only had a talk about predators. That's all we talked about. I remember. And like what to do if someone touches you and who it is and who to go to. But it was weird because we didn't had the talk beforehand and it was like pretty early. So I feel like they should have, I don't know. I mean, maybe they shouldn't have gone hand in hand, but maybe we should have had the talk beforehand to understand more as to what was going on. But I never, not in school. We never had like the separate girls and boys. Like when I learned it was all together in the same room by a male teacher telling us that cramps were not that bad.
It's interesting that you don't remember the school talk because I remember, and I don't know if it was you, mommy, but I know there's some parents who are just like, oh well, they'll learn that in school. Like I don't really need to say that because they'll learn that in school, and you guys are saying you don't get that at school.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
But I also think that there is part of it of there's some things that you learn in school, but again, it's just like there's certain things that are more personal that almost need a different space to talk about. Like
Yeah.
when we're talking about more like the emotional aspect and our personal feelings and value and moral system, I know that falls a lot on caregivers, families. Otherwise, friends are the ones who are going to give you advice, and sometimes friends don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what they don't know what they're talking about, even as adults.
even as adults, yeah.
Yeah.
I have, because I remember I did get some information from other guys' friends in like middle school and stuff and elementary. And I feel like there were some aspects where I did benefit from that, but it was also very good to have an information at home where I could decipher what they said was right and what they said was wrong.
I don't know. I feel very appreciative, and I'm thankful that you can talk to us about it so openly. And even though there's certain things that we're like, wait a minute, there were some gaps to think that you came really from no knowledge. You had no prior experience. You really made this up. you made this up, and to recognize that and to realize, wow, like, I don't know, Mom, I appreciate it. I thank you so much because it takes so much courage to break the shame, like Gabriela has been saying, of breaking the shame and teaching us, even though there were some people who were saying you shouldn't teach the way you're teaching, because you knew in your heart that that was what we needed. So
I gave you the best I could. I couldn't give you anything else.
Thank you, because you're teaching me too. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, so cute. My heart is gonna burst.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But no, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate this conversation. And I honestly, like, I appreciate the vulnerability and the openness, because this is how we really connect. This is how we really come to an understanding, and honestly, I think love each other even stronger. And to our homies who are listening and watching, like, we invite you again to please share parts of the story that you connected with, things that maybe you disagree with, or things that brought your attention and were like, whoa, or like your own stories, because as parents and as people who have to share the talk, there's a whole side of it that maybe we don't understand, and being able to get that and just have keep the conversation going is so amazing. And it helps us just better.
And if you don't feel comfortable saying anything in the comments, and you can always send us an email at IAmHerePod@gmail.com. Finally got that.
Yeah,
memorized.
Email us, message us, because we're also on Instagram and Facebook. Pod, so you can send us a message. We will read those and respond. And if you have other stories or ideas or things that you do want us to talk about, or things that you have questions and curious about, we're here, we're open, and we want to connect. And that's the whole part of this, of being our community. You know, this is community. So before we finish off, we always end with our thing that we're grateful for. And I think I already said mine. I am grateful that, Mommy, you were able to break through some of those taboo stories, and to really be your own person and be your own type of mom, because that's the mom I need. So
yes, I'm grateful for two things. Well, many things, but today especially, I'm grateful for you, because you have helped me have that positive experience in my life that unfortunately I wasn't able to have, that positive view on sexuality and that positive view on being a woman in general. But that's one thing that I'm very grateful for, is you, Titi. And the second thing is dance. I'm very grateful that it's never too late to learn how to move your hips without feeling guilty.
Yeah.
You wanna go?
Online, Shakira said it.
Okay.
Well, that was the girl,
Shakira.
Shakira. You danced like Shakira.
Hey, Mommy, that's the best compliment ever. Hey.
Okay, calm down.
Listen to Shakira, okay? Like, I can't calm down. Like, that's my girl. I want to dance like Shakira. That's cool. On my heart. I'm grateful for that compliment.
Oh my God. Let's see. Well, I guess today I'm grateful for openness and being able to speak our minds without having to conceal or hide anything, and just being able to be open with one another. That's dope.
Yay, Mom.
Well, I'm grateful for my family, for my kids, for my niece, for my Gabriela here, and for all my family. And even though my parents didn't give me the talk, I'm really grateful for them, because they taught me by example. And that's what I learned. And I had to be very grateful to my husband who explained it to me in black and white.
Man, all this time I thought Mommy was just like, she had the answers to everything. All the slang, all the things that I was just like coming home from middle school and be like, Mom, why they say this? Why do they call it that? Why are they? Now I'm learning it was Papi behind. Like,
I was proud of me. I went to his school.
Wow. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you for sharing. And we're so glad that you are here. And I am here with you.